Who actually needs an 88-key V.A.S.T synth in 2024, and who should just walk away? If you're shopping for a keyboard that can do more than play piano patches, the Kurzweil K2088 is one of the few instruments that still gives you classic Kurzweil sound engines without asking you to sell a kidney. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I spent a week with the K2088 in a small studio and on a live gig, so I can tell you where it shines and where it quietly reminds you that you're not buying a workstation from 1995. The headline specs look great on paper: 88 fully weighted hammer action keys with aftertouch, 2042 factory programs, and V.A.S.T under the hood, but the real story is in the daily workflow. If you're coming from a modern compact keyboard or a software rig, the first thing you'll notice is how much you can do without scrolling through menus. The front panel is split into 3 color-coded zones, one for sound selection, one for performance controls, and one for effects. That layout means you can jump from a layered pad to a bass and lead split in seconds, which is exactly the kind of thing that falls apart on cheaper boards once you're playing live. The V.A.S.T engine is the heart of this thing. Kurzweil didn't just bolt on virtual analog and FM, they gave you 2 separate synthesis paths that can run in parallel. In practice, that means you can stack a VA1 virtual analog bass under a 6-operator FM electric piano and still have plenty of polyphony left for a simple drum pattern. I tried a 4-layer setup with a Rhodes clone, a Moog-style bass, a DX7-style electric piano, and a simple pad, and the K2088 handled it without coughing. The 256-voice polyphony ceiling is real. You won't hit it unless you're running every layer at maximum unison detune and stacking effects. Most players won't need that much, but it's reassuring when you're pushing the limits. Where the K2088 starts to feel its age is in the workflow around splits and layers. The manual is thorough, but the menu system is deep and not always intuitive. You can save your splits and layers to a single program slot, which is great for live use, but editing them on the fly means memorizing a few key combinations. If you're the type who likes to tweak sounds between songs, you'll appreciate the dedicated knobs for filter cutoff, resonance, and envelope depth, but you'll also find yourself wishing for a proper touchscreen or at least a jog wheel. The aftertouch implementation is solid, but it's not as expressive as the best modern keyboards. It's more of a nice to have than a must-have unless you're into heavily processed leads or ambient textures. The sound set is where this synth earns its keep. Kurzweil pulled the best programs from their K2 series and added new ones, so you get everything from vintage electric pianos and clavs to lush pads and aggressive basses. The VA1 engine nails the warm, slightly gritty character of a classic virtual analog synth, while the 6-op FM engine gives you that glassy, bell-like tone you'd expect from a DX-era instrument. I used the K2088 as a secondary keyboard for a jazz organ trio, and the rotary speaker and Leslie emulations sat perfectly in the mix without needing extra processing. If you're a sound designer, the ability to layer engines and run parallel effects chains opens up a lot of creative territory, but if you're happy with stock patches, you'll find plenty to love right out of the box. Who should buy this? If you're a gigging musician who needs one keyboard to cover electric piano, bass, pads, and leads without relying on a laptop, the K2088 is a solid choice. It's also a good fit for producers who want a hardware layer for their virtual instruments but don't want to give up the tactile feel of real keys. If you're a beginner or someone who mostly records MIDI into a DAW, you'll probably be happier with a simpler 61-key workstation or a MIDI controller paired with software. The price tag is higher than entry-level boards, and the learning curve is steeper, so it's not the kind of impulse buy you'll regret at 2 a.m. The biggest trade-off is the lack of modern conveniences. No Bluetooth MIDI, no built-in audio interface, and no touch-sensitive sliders. If you need those features, you'll have to look elsewhere. The build is solid, but the plastic around the pitch and mod wheels feels a bit light compared to the rest of the chassis. The included power supply is bulky, so if you're traveling light, you'll want to budget for a third-party adapter. If you decide it's the right tool for you, the K2088 gives you a lot of synth for the money, especially if you value classic engines and hands-on control. Check the link in the description too.